This video, we're going to give you our favorite tips on how to write a brief. If you are either writing a brief again in the future, if you're trying out for moot court, you're doing the AAA problem this summer, here's just some quick tips from people who've done it about how to write a good brief, how to get that brief written. So we'll start with Dylan. What's your favorite tip for brief writing?
First and foremost, and above all, something that was drilled into me when I clerked over my 1L summer in the appellate court is to be concise. Do not say something in 20 words that you can say in 10. When you use short sentences and active voice, it makes your brief much easier to read. And when people are reading your briefs, professors or judges, they're reading a lot at once. And when they can go through your brief and think, wow, I'm 5-6 pages into this already, and it's much less, labor to get through reading your brief than someone else's is, it just automatically looks and just feels better reading before it even gets into the substance of what you're saying. But a lot of times when I see other people's writing is they kind of drag on with their sentences and write too long of sentences. And Professor Anderson had the same preference when I came into her class for AAA, is be concise and don't use any more words than you absolutely have to.
Okay. Logan.
It's going to sound weird, but when you're doing your research, become a nerd about the topic. The more you know about your topic and the more just as expanding as you can on the topic before you start your writing, it will look so much better in the actual writing of your brief. Because if you know a little bit about it and then you write your brief, it'll show that you know a little bit about it. But if you have a huge wealth of information in your head that you can put into your writing and just include little bits here and there that the average person wouldn't get, it really is going to boost you above and beyond when it comes down to the scoring.
Tommy?
Do not wait to the last minute to do your brief. I have never been like that, and I don't understand when people say, I write better under pressure. I'm sorry. No, you don't. So my biggest tip is to just break it up into small chunks. If you get the problem in mid-July, give yourself 2 weeks and say, okay, in 2 weeks, I'm going to have this problem read, and then give yourself a week and say, okay, over the next week, I'm little bit by little bit, I'm going to maybe outline the issue or whatever. What is the saying? How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, I believe. It's very daunting to get this packet and think, oh my gosh, like I don't even know where to start. Well, you just have to start. And if you wait until the last minute, you're not only letting your teammate down, but you're also letting yourself down, and you're shortcutting yourself, because if you just had taken the time to really develop over a period of time, your writing would be immensely better.
I guess I'm last. I'll comment on Dylan's advice first. I know firsthand that you need to, if you do have flowery language, you need to pare that down to be successful in moot court. I had an issue. I think I still might have a small issue, but I'm working towards it, and that's what AAA can do. It can key you into some discrepancies in your writing. But as far as my advice goes, I would say to make sure that you do a detailed outline of the problem beforehand. I think something that I became known for in AAA and in moot court is that I research, like Logan said, everything about a topic, and I know stuff that's probably not relevant, but it helps me because I've gone through the entire problem, and I've seen where everything leads off, the tentacles of the problem, all the issues. And that makes it a lot easier to go through when you start writing and break out your format, the subpoints and the subheadings. So I think making a detailed outline is key to writing persuasively in appellate advocacy.
Yeah, just to jump on what Trent and Logan said, as far as getting familiar with it, read cases over and over, like put them down for a couple of days and come back to them, because not only are you getting more familiar with that case law, you're learning how courts address that issue and the language they use to talk about a certain issue, and that bleeds into your own writing and makes your writing more substantive and more accurate when you can use the language in the way that the court does.
All right, those are all good tips. I'll just end with my favorite tip, which is figure out what works for you in terms of how to get yourself started. Tommy talked about that, right? Is this idea of procrastinating and the idea that I'll just do it at the very end, and it really doesn't work for people. The product that you put out there might be minimal, but it's not going to be good. So how do you get started? For some people, it's sitting down and doing what Trent talked about. I read the problem and I outline the problem. For some people, it's like finding an issue and digging right into the research. But for other people, one of the things that works is just go for a walk and talk to yourself out loud a little bit about what's this problem about and what do I think I need to do with it. Just do anything that it takes to get your creative juices flowing. If it works for you, that's how you get started writing. All right, thanks guys. It's been an interesting and I hope useful quick chat about some brief writing tips.